The Ukrainian Defense Forces used domestic Flamingo and Bars missiles, as well as the Lyuty UAV, to strike at Russian military targets. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported on this and published footage of nighttime missile launches. The strikes on a number of important targets in Russia and the temporarily occupied territories were executed on the night of November 13th. In particular, there were reports of hits on the Morskoy Oil Terminal oil storage facility, a helicopter parking lot, and UAV storage and training facilities at the Kirovsky airfield in the temporarily occupied Crimea. Also, about the damage and the destruction of an air defense radar station near Yevpatoria. In addition, in the temporarily occupied territory of the Zaporizhia region, an oil depot near Berdyansk and the forward command posts of the 5th Combined Arms Army and the 127th Motorized Rifle Division of the Russian invaders were hit. Missiles and drones also struck targets in Russia at night. The extent of the damage is currently being assessed. The strikes were carried out as part of reducing the aggressor country's military, economic, and offensive potential. Strike UAVs, jet drones, and missiles of various types are used to launch complex strikes. Thus, last night, several long-range weapons were launched, including domestic developments Flamingo, Bars, and Lyuty, the General Staff reported. Earlier today, it was reported that at night, unidentified strike weapons attacked Russian facilities in the city of Orel. The head of the Mykolaiv Regional Military Administration, Vitaly Kim, said in the Nikolaevsky Vonek Telegram channel that a Ukrainian Flamingo missile was used against facilities in the city of Orel. The claimed range of the Ukrainian Flamingo cruise missile is up to 3,000 kilometers. The warhead weighs approximately 1 ton and is capable of reaching a cruising speed of 850 to 950 kilometers per hour. Ukrainian drones struck a storage and maintenance base for Russian Orion reconnaissance and strike drones at the Kirovsky airfield in temporarily occupied Crimea. Robert Magyar Brovdy, commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces, reported on this. The military released a video of a series of attacks on this facility by Russian invaders. According to the commander, this is the combat work of drone operators of the 1st Separate Center of the USF, transformed 14th Regiment of the USF. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine added that the parking lot of Russian helicopters at this airfield was also hit at night. The Russian Orion reconnaissance and strike drone has a wingspan of about 16 meters, a length of about 8 meters, a maximum takeoff weight of about 1.2 tons, and a payload of up to 200 kilograms. The range of the Orion is 1,000 to 1,500 kilometers. The flight duration is up to 24 hours, and the altitude is up to 7 kilometers. The drone can use various types of ammunition, for which it is possible to install up to 4 suspensions on the airframe. The declared armament of the Orion includes guided, small-sized airborne missiles and various types of adjusted air bombs. The Russians also use it to launch the small-sized S-8000 Banderol cruise missile. Development of the Orion UAV began in 2011 by the Kronstadt Group of companies. The first prototype for testing was built in 2015. The first Orion strike UAVs were transferred for trial operation in April 2020, and in August of the same year, a contract was signed to start mass production. Ukrainian operators already have experience in shooting down such Russian drones using interceptor drones. As for the airfield, the Ukrainian Defense Forces have repeatedly hit it during the full-scale war with Russia. Read more about this in the article. From Ukraine's Tu-142M to drone strikes, Kirovsky airfield that has not been forgotten. At night, residents of Oriol could witness the spectacular work of the Russian air defense. The Russians decided to shoot down aerial targets right over one of the city's residential districts, causing debris to fall into courtyards and onto cars. Reports suggest that the fragments might belong to a Flamingo. Another Russian terrorist attack. Footage of a Garan drone strike on Kharkiv. Russian propagandists have once again reverted to calling for all cities in Ukraine to be destroyed, along with the bridges, claiming that's the only way to wage war. But overall, Russians never threatened anyone.
The crossings over the Dnipro must be destroyed, the Kiev Dam must be destroyed, the city must be flooded, Kharkiv must be annihilated, Mykolaiv, Odessa, Sumy wiped off the face of the earth like Dnipropetrovsk and other cities. First we warn them, if they don't understand, we carry it out. Well, there's no other way. Unfortunately, it's neither good nor bad, it's just a fact.
How else can you fight? Only this way. Only this way.
President Volodymyr Zelensky visited Ukrainian troops in the Zaporizhzhia region, where he assessed the frontline situation and emphasized the need for increased international and military pressure on Russia. Standing near active combat zones, Zelensky underlined that despite the immense costs of its ongoing invasion, Moscow shows no intention of halting the war. According to the president, Ukraine's intelligence and battlefield analysis indicate that Russia continues to expand its military production and prepare for long-term confrontation. Factories across the Russian Federation are operating in wartime mode, signaling a determination to sustain and escalate aggression not only against Ukraine, but potentially across the European continent in the coming decade. Zelensky warned that Moscow's strategic goal appears to be the restoration of large-scale military power by 2029 to 2030, which could pose a direct threat to Europe's collective security. He stressed that the only way to prevent such an outcome is through decisive and unified action now, both militarily and economically. Ukraine's leader called on partners to tighten sanctions, cut Russia off from profits generated by its energy exports, and halt any remaining channels for weapons or critical technology supplies. He reiterated that consistent, coordinated pressure is the only way to force the Kremlin into a pause and weaken its ability to wage future wars. From Zaporizhzhia, Zelensky's message was clear. Ukraine stands as Europe's shield, but to keep that shield strong, the free world must act with urgency to contain Russia's ambitions before they grow into an even greater conflict. Polish Foreign Minister Sikorski says Ukraine is preparing for a 3-year war and believes Putin won't be able to sustain it. Western partners are planning support over that time frame, potentially using frozen Russian assets.
Ukraine is planning for a 3-year war. And these colonial wars usually take about a decade. And I don't think Putin can sustain it for another 3 years. And we're about to supply Ukraine the means to resist for another 3 years out of the frozen Russian assets. Ukraine now makes almost half of its drones and cruise missiles in Ukraine.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comments section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.